Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We're going to have a look at weather next week to 10 days. For today's second video, this will take us to around the 12th of February. So we're going into, well into the second week of the month. We're in issue JMA Friday. You can find that video here on the homepage. Just scroll down the page a little bit and it's above the snow desk. So we're looking at some pretty cold weather for the month ahead. If the long-range look ahead is right, the JMA and the CFS are both focusing on some really quite cold weather. I think that is probably going to be correct up to the middle of the month anyway. Quite where things go in the second half of the month, I think, is a little bit more uncertain. It could be that the long-range models sort of running away with themselves, and this idea that we're going to have cold weather persisting through the month. But if those models are right, we are looking at really quite a cold February. By the way, we will be issuing the GazWeatherViz.com February month-ahead forecast tomorrow morning, so you'll be able to see that before the week-ahead forecast tomorrow morning. But as I say, we're going to have a look at weather next week, 10 days, specifically focusing on next week's cold weather. There will be a risk of both significant cold weather and also some heavy snow because of next week. So let's get on with the update. We're going to start off having a look at the central England temperature from Hadley. So we've got the finalised number in for January now, January 2018. Came out at 5.3 degrees, an anomaly, actually very mild month of 1.5 degrees above average. We're still waiting for the UK-wide figures to come in. I think when we get the UK-wide figures coming in, what we'll see is that the north had quite a coldish month and the south had a very mild month. The CET region was more in that milder weather compared to further north. But I think we will have a big north-south deviation. But anyway, for the CET region, was a substantially milder than average month, can you believe? For February, we are currently provisionally standing at 4.6 degrees. That's only up to yesterday, 1st of February. That's an anomaly of 0.4 of a degree above average. Expect that to be moving downwards over next week, and I think by this time next week we may actually be looking at quite a substantial negative deviation in terms of the anomaly. It does look as though February 2018 is likely to be the coldest month of the winter. It's been a little while since February was the coldest month of winter, I think, but that's what we're facing this year, I would have thought. Just bring you an update with the latest in terms of the stratosphere. So this is the GFS temperature forecast for the stratosphere at 10 HPA over the North Pole. Starting on the 10th of February, you'll know that through the week we've been talking about the chance of a sudden stratospheric warming event taking place around the second week of February, going up towards the middle part of the month. This looks as though it's starting to get a bit closer as well. Now, so as I say, starting on the 10th of February, in the extended range of the GFS, notice we do still have these blue colours here over the North Pole at 10 HPA, which is kind of like one of the top levels of the atmosphere in the stratosphere. But these blue colours are already, at this point, starting to be stretched a little bit, starting to be pulled apart a bit. And I'll just run you through this latest run on the GFS. You see very quickly, within day 10, we are getting quite a pronounced warming of the stratosphere occurring at 10 HPA over North Pole. So those two blue areas have split apart, telling us that the polar vortex is going to be really under attack with this at its roots. Its roots are in the stratosphere, so the polar vortex will be really put under stress within 10 days if this is right. And as run through, you'll see that warming just gets more dramatic, really. So we go to the 15th of February, and many parts of the Arctic stratosphere looking significantly above average by that point. And we get further intensification of that warming occurring over Canada. Quite interesting, quite an unusual place to get a sudden stratospheric warming, but big warming takes place over the Arctic side, on the Canadian Arctic side, and just generally looking very substantially above average with the temperature. By the time we finish up, all of the blues have gone and being sort of pushed out by these yellow, orange, and you see occasionally red colours. So again, another big stratospheric warming event is taking place here on this 6 o'clock run of the GFS. This is bound to put the polar vortex under a massive amount of pressure, and it may actually really sort of knock it on the head for quite a while, actually, if this comes off. This is a very dramatic one, especially what's happening there around the 16th, 17th of February around Canada. So we'll keep an eye on that, of course, but certainly at the moment it looks like we are in for quite a pronounced one in the stratosphere. The ECMWF might be starting to pick up on this a little bit as well. This is the 10 HPA forecast chart for the stratosphere over the North Pole at 192 hours, which is the 9th of February. You can see it where the actual North Pole of Northern Hemisphere is. It's where that black cross is just there. So still relatively cold with the temperatures at 10 HPA at 192 hours. But as we run through to 216 hours, we keep it quite cold. But look what happens at 240 hours, day 10, 11th of February. We find that quite clearly we are starting to lift the temperature up in two areas. We're lifting the temperature up around here, which is kind of like Greenland and over towards Newfoundland and that sort of area, and also lifting temperatures up over here around sort of Russia and Siberia. Now, if we could run on another day or two, it would be interesting to see how much that develops, because it's just still a little bit outside the main time frame of where the GFS is lifting the temperatures up. But certainly looks like it's starting to happen there at day 10. So we'll know more when these charts update over the course of the weekend, whether the ECM is going to go in the same direction as the GFS. But to be honest, it does look as though that is kind of like the direction that it's heading in. So major events going to be taking place in the stratosphere over North Pole around the middle part of February if the GFS and maybe the ECMWF is correct. Remember, we do have to run on another couple of days yet with the ECMWF before we get to that time frame where the main warming of the stratosphere occurs over the North Pole. But that looks like it is heading in the same sort of direction as the GFS. Right, so that's brought you up to date with developments in the stratosphere. So we'll have a look now at weather for the next couple of weeks. These have a GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles. Looking at Halifax today in the north of England. So the red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average. You'll see that we're colder than average today. And we're going to be going even colder as we get through the end of the weekend into next week. So next week we have got a major cold period coming up. We've seen the temperature going down to around -10 at 850 HPA. I've spoken about this before. When you get down to -10 at 850 HPA in the middle of winter, generally you're going to be struggling to get the temperatures much above freezing. So very cold conditions through the course of next week. From next weekend onwards into the second week of February, still quite a bit of uncertainty. The temperature is lifting up a little bit. So it's going back closer to average, but that is disguising the fact that there is a lot of scatter in this period. So from around here, which is around the 10th of February onwards through to the middle part of the month, I think there's a huge amount of uncertainty there. So we have got several ensemble members that are lifting up into a milder category, several ensemble members that are cold, and no doubt some of these ensemble members are a bit up and down as well. So maybe some of them would be doing something a bit like that, going mild for a time and then going really quite cold again. And that may be how things progress into the second week of February. But certainly next week, this period just here, we are in for a very significant cold spell of weather. In terms of precipitation, gradually increasing the precipitation spike. So we've got rain, sleet and snow coming up tomorrow. Then it's dry and very cold to around Tuesday. And then from Tuesday onwards, very gradually, the precipitation spikes are lifting up. And that's associated with quite a lot of cold weather as well. So there will be an increasing risk through the course of next week of snow, I think. And some of that snow could be quite heavy, quite disruptive snow as well. So cold and dry initially, and then an increased risk of snow through the course of the week. This is how the surface temperatures are looking for Halifax, and you can see that we're starting off quite cold at the moment, around or a little bit under 5 degrees, but trending colder over the next few days. Let's just show you where freezing is. So that's 0 degrees just there. This is plus 10 degrees just here. That's minus 10 degrees down there, and that's plus 20 degrees up there. Not going to be seeing that for some time, I can assure you. So we start off, let's get rid of all that and start again. We begin at just under 5 degrees, but look at this, the temperatures over the weekend into next week trending down. So by the time we get through to Monday and Tuesday, basically the temperatures are hovering very close to freezing there, as maximum temperatures, hovering very close to freezing and going under freezing by night. We keep that temperature around freezing throughout much of next week. So to the end of next week, we keep it cold, really cold, with temperatures by day around freezing, not much better than freezing, perhaps you would should say, and by night some hard overnight frost. Some of these ensemble members, they are outliers, but some of the ensemble members are getting quite close to minus 10. And then after that, we do see the temperatures beginning to tick back up a little bit then from next weekend onwards into the second week of February. Although I think that's very inconclusive, really. I mean, we're not lifting things up much from 0 degrees, just going sort of plus 3s, plus 4s, probably. And you'll see there are many ensemble members here that are still really very cold, even into this second week of February. So the first week of February, next week, is looking very cold and with an increased risk of snow. You can see that by the increase in the precipitation spikes. And then the second week, we may hang on to that very cold weather. It's not out of the question that that we will warm things up. I mean, it's not out of question that we might hang on to that very cold weather. It is uncertain whether we'll warm things up through the second week of February. So this could be quite a prolonged cold spell that's setting up here. Temperature anomalies are looking like that from the 2nd to 10th of February. We're coming out colder than average. Many parts of Europe now dipping down into colder than average temperature anomalies. But the greatest temperatures to average are in the west of Europe. So for the UK, for Ireland, for France, for Spain, for Portugal, significantly colder than average there. From Germany eastwards, it's not such a big deviation. Actually, very mild temperature anomalies down in the southeast of Europe. They've had a very mild winter, all winter. This year, but of course they was really, really cold down there last winter. Precipitation anomalies from the 2nd to 10th of February look like that, and generally it's drier than average for many northern, central, western parts of Europe. That should expect to see that really when it's cold like this. The cold air holds less moisture than warm air, so you would expect when it's cold like that across much of Europe that it's also going to be quite dry as well. This is how the GFS is looking for Monday. We're pulling in this bitterly cold easterly wind from off the continent across England and Wales. There's the upper air temperature showing the minus 10. Ice firm is pushing through many parts of England and Wales on those easterly winds. It will feel really bitter on Monday. Then on Tuesday, we start to drop a weather front down across the country, moving into that cold air. That's going to bring a risk of snow, particularly to northern and western parts of the country, I think. On Tuesday, it may fizzle out a bit, that front, by the time it gets through to the southeast. By Wednesday, the winds have turned into the north. This is a very cold northerly we've got coming down as well. So again, the minus 10 isotherm is pushing down across the country, particularly this time affecting Scotland and northern England. But that's another bitterly cold day on Wednesday, and there will be a risk of snow in there as well. Staying cold into Thursday. And we're trying to move a weather front in from off the Atlantic. That's where the weather front will be lying at 6 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. By the time you get through to Friday, you'll see what's happened to that front. It's stalled across the country and developed an area of low pressure along it. That's pushed southwards. So that, again, it's another indication of a good chance of a snow event Thursday to Friday across many parts of the country. We hang on to the cold air into Saturday, and then we get a bit of a push from the Atlantic on Sunday. So this is just as those ensemble members are starting to lift up a little bit. we're not talking about mild conditions by any means, but it is turning a little bit less cold. Probably another band of snow coming across the country, followed by an Atlantic airstream and maybe a thaw. That takes us to day 10, which is Monday the 12th of February, when actually it looks like we're probably bringing in another snow event. We've got an area of low pressure down here that's moving in off the Atlantic. Within quite cold air as well. If I just show you the upper air temperatures, with that, you'll see that the upper air temperatures are easily supporting that area of low pressure to be bringing the risk of snow on day 10, this time coming in from off the Atlantic. So a brief thaw maybe around the 11th, and then back to cold and maybe snowy conditions by the 12th. That's all a very long way off, and I think the general idea is that next week is going to be pretty cold, to say the least. East MDF looks like that, so winds are in from the east across England and Wales anyway to start next week. Those easy winds, by the way, they could bring some quite beefy snow showers into East Anglia and southeastern parts of England. That's how things look for Tuesday. So there's the weather front coming into the north on Tuesday, bringing a risk of snow. By the time we get through to midnight on Wednesday, we've got an area of low pressure, presumably from that stalling weather front, down across southern, southeastern parts of the country. So that could bring some snow through to there. There's the upper air temperatures looking bitterly cold through the middle of next week, with a -10 ice firm, particularly covering England and Wales. And then we move into the second half of next week, and we're keeping it cold. There's another weather front that's trying to head in off the Atlantic. That's its position at midnight on Thursday. By the time you get through to Friday, you can see what's happened. We've got an area of low pressure down here, but it looks like there's another little low pressure across the northern parts of England. So it's just a suggestion, and as we move through next week, not only is it very cold, it's also becoming more unstable. We're bringing more moisture in from the Atlantic, engaging with that cold air. So the risk through next week of significant snow is increasing through the week. There's the upper air temperatures. Again, we see that we're easily supporting snow across all parts of the country. We get up towards day 10, and we bring this area of low pressure through from off the Atlantic Saturday. That's where it is on Saturday, 10th of February. By Sunday 11th, that's where it is. Presumably, there's another snow event occurring with that, and then we're bringing in the air from off the Atlantic, albeit this is still quite cold air, to be honest. And then day 10, which is Monday the 12th of February, looks very similar to the GFS actually, with this area of low pressure down to our southwest heading in from off the Atlantic. If we look at the upper air temperatures, you'll see again we are easily supporting snow with that area of low pressure. So this looks like a really wintry spell of weather that's setting up through the course of next week. This is the precipitation type forecast from the weatheroutlook.com, just to show you the snow potential. I expect to see snow watches appearing over the weekend. I don't think there'll be one today, but you will be seeing snow watch at some point over the weekend. But I'll just show you the latest ideas for snow next week. So we're starting on Saturday. We've got rain and sleet into the west at midnight tonight, and then we run through course of Saturday with rains and sleet and little bits of snow across the country, gradually becoming lighter through the course of the afternoon. Then we go into Sunday, and we're seeing snow showers coming in from off the North Seas. This is 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, and we've got snow showers pushing quite a way inland actually there on Sunday afternoon. And particularly around these southeastern coastal areas. A bit of a snow stream, it looks like it's setting up there on Monday through East Anglia, southeast England. That kind of situation will not be picked up on very well by the models, but on these east-northeasterly winds, you can actually get quite a lot of snow piling up as you just get one after another, after another, after another snow shower coming in on these streamers. There's the wet weather out to the northwest, and then we go through into Tuesday. We're bringing that band of snow down across the country, so that's bringing snow even down into parts of England and Wales, albeit turning lighter as it pushes southeastwards, but definitely there's a risk of a snow event on Tuesday. And then we're into snow showers on Wednesday. So again, the model won't be able to pick up on that very well. This is Thursday. That next system's coming in off the Atlantic. That's bringing more heavy snow into the north and to the west. And then mist pushes across England and Wales overnight Thursday and into Friday. So by now the snow could be really starting to pile up quite a bit. We're going into the following weekend, and we're going back more towards rain as that milder air comes in for a time. But look what happens as we go from Sunday into Monday. More heavy snow there is coming in off the Atlantic by Monday the 12th. So that's a very snowy type scenario that the GFS is picking up on through the course of next week. And this is the ECMWF from the website weather.us. That was weatheroutlook.com, by the way. You can find a link to all of these websites on the links page. So this is weather.us, the ECMWF. It shows snow depth, and it does overdo the snow depth because it assumes that every snowflake that falls settles, and that is not the case. So it's just an indication of where it's likely to be snowing, but don't take the depths too literally. That's Monday, when you see most of the snow is up in the north at that point. Let's go through to Tuesday, and you'll see that the snow gets more widespread across the north and the west, even some snow showers coming through into more southern areas. We get through to Wednesday, and you'll see that the snow is getting a little bit more widespread. Again, don't take the depths too literally, but it does give an indication that from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the risk of snow is increasing. Let's go another 24 hours to Thursday, and again, more snow is appearing here. So through the week, next week, it's gradually getting more and more snowy. That's Friday, and now it is suggesting that most parts of the country are covered to quite a depth with snow. Again, don't take the snow depth too literally, but it is a good indication that through the course of next week, the risk of snow is increasing on a day-by-day basis. Up to Saturday, it's going for really deep snow here across much of eastern Britain and up in the north as well. In fact, all places have got some snow cover by that weekend, the following weekend to the one that's coming up. And we go through to Sunday as far as we can go, Sunday the 12th of February, and we see that well, actually Monday the 12th of February, we see that we've got widespread snow cover there across many parts of the country by that point. So day by day by day, the risk of significant snow increases. The ECMWF is right. The GFS is coming up with a similar type idea as well, that the risk of snow increases through the course of next week. So not only are we looking at a very cold spell of weather next week, probably our coldest spell of winter so far, we are looking at an increasingly wintry outlook with a risk of some very significant snow indeed through the course of the week. Both from the scenarios that we've spoken about, but also there's bound to be kind of short things cropping up, you know, sort of things just cropping up with very short notice. You always get that in this kind of cold pattern. So there'll be scenarios that crop up through the course of next week that aren't even being highlighted yet, that might also deliver us a risk of some snow. So this is looking like a very cold and also quite snowy spell of weather that's setting up through the course of next week. We'll be keeping you updated, of course, throughout the weekend and into next week at Gaz, so keep checking that. There will be a snow watch at some point over the weekend, that is certain. And also got weekend forecast coming up this weekend tomorrow, so that will be a very interesting weekend forecast, say the least, I would have thought. And there'll be other updates too, so just keep checking back all the time to the website. Alright, that's all for now. Don't forget to check out January Friday if you haven't yet done so, but that's all for now, and thanks for watching.